Video we're going to talk about something pretty simple and something that you should do pretty much on the reg, and that is cleaning your mechanical keyboard, but not necessarily a deep clean, more of a on the surface every month now and then kind of clean. So for me, I like to do this about every 4 to 6 weeks depending on the keyboard. For keyboards with a floating keycap design such as my drop control, with its floating keycap design, dust is always getting under those keycaps and between all the keys, so it needs to be cleaned much more regularly than a keyboard that doesn't have a floating keycap style such as the K6, where dust doesn't really go into those spaces as often. So let's talk about some of the things that you may need. We like to have some microfiber towels. In this case, I'm using a few old handkerchiefs that we don't use anymore. Don't use paper towels because those things shed more dust and it'll just accumulate after you clean it. So I highly don't recommend that. You can even use an old t-shirt if you want. The second thing I like to use are Q-tips, those things with the cotton swab at the
when my hair started thinning, I didn't want to hear the wisecracks.
I was ignoring my hair because I was a full-time working mother, but luckily I found Nutrafol.
My hair was getting stronger and thicker.
And I finally feel like myself again.
Hollywood is built to last. It's not fair weather furniture.
Well, hello, you glorious people of...
It's funny. People use the internet every day. But for the majority of people, that's all they use is the internet. But there's so much more. Have you ever been on the deep web? What about the dark web? Crazy things there, and I would not recommend going there unless you're very tech savvy. There are black markets dealing in the most horrible of things like murder and kidnapping. But I discovered something that I can buy and I'm very interested in it. I found a person who's selling a skin, and he claims to be an old employee of Epic Games. He also claims that this skin was a scrap design of the Black Knight before they decided on the medieval theme. It looked legit. I went back to the seller's page a few days later, and it was still there. I messaged him and I asked him the price, as well as the skin's rarity. He told me it was a gold skin, and the price was $30. Like he said earlier, it was a scrap design for the Black Knight, so it would have been tier 70 in Season 2, or as the seasons go now...
Love the chairs. So comfortable.
Tier 100. Only $10 more for this than a gold skin that you could acquire in the item shop. I realized it could be a scam, but I mean, this could be huge. He gave me his PayPal info and I sent him the money. Just one problem. How would I get the skin? I never sent him my gamer tag. Freaking out thinking I did indeed get scammed, I went to play Fortnite on my Xbox to calm down. I went to change to my wildcard skin and that's when I saw it. The skin I bought. How did this guy know? How did he know what I played on, let alone my gamer tag? Needless to say, he was there. He had a full body cloak with a hood on him. He had a mask that covered the left side of his face. The right side looks as if he was in a fight, and he lost. It looks like I've gotten exactly what I paid for. I play matches all throughout the night, and I eventually go to sleep. As I sleep, I feel a suffocating sensation about me. I gasp for air, the feeling passes, and I go to sleep. I wake up and I log into Fortnite. The right side of his face that looked messed up had skin falling off of it. I could see a white structure. It was his cheekbone. I thought it was just stages, much like the Omega or the Ragnarok, and I continued to play Fortnite without any worry all day. Once again, I go to bed, and this time, I can't breathe. I gasp for breath. Nothing. I'm like a fish without water. I'm drowning in a sea of nothing. I pass out. To my surprise, I didn't die like I thought I would, but my Xbox was turned on, and the skin was on the screen. The mask falls. The cloak falls. The hood falls. And it's me. The skin on the character, on me, it peels and decomposes. My breathing starts to struggle again as if my lungs don't work. I let out the biggest attempts for breath as if my life depended on it, because it did. And I black out again. I awake, but this time I'm not in my bed. It's different from my bed. It's cold, damp, and dark. It's 6 feet under, and it's a casket. I feel my face. I feel something. It's my cheekbone. As I try to breathe, it becomes clearly now. I've been in here the whole time, and I just used up all my oxygen.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And
with Adobe Acrobat AI Assistant, I can summarize key contract details in seconds so that I can confidently explain it to both a buyer and a seller. AI Assistant helps me focus on what really matters, helping people find a place that they can call home.
And in this video, we'll be going over specifically mods to make your mechanical keyboard sound or feel better, not necessarily look better. So if you're interested in making it look better, you can do things like adding a nice custom coil or things, changing up the keycaps or whatever. But we're gonna talk specifically about changing the sound and the feel to make it good and thocky. So the order of these mods will be from easiest to hardest. We have been getting questions where someone will send us a sound video and be like, how do I get my keyboard to sound like this? And usually in the bottom there's a description of the exact switches, mods, parts, things that they use. But in this video we're going to go over, I believe, 5 different things you can do to make your keyboard sound better. Let's get started right now. It'll be from easiest to hardest. So pick some and do it. The first one, which is super easy, anybody can do this one, is getting a desk mat. Why should you get a desk mat? Because sometimes depending on the material of your table, whether it be glass, wood, or some kind of metal, stainless steel even, it will echo some sounds off of it when you're typing, and that can result in an unpleasant noise. So when you're looking for a sound test or listening to sound tests around the internet on YouTube, usually they will do a non-desk mat sound test, and then they'll do a desk mat sound test, and you can hear the differences between the two depending on the keyboard and depending on the sensitivity of your microphone or your ears within that space. So desk mats improve sound dampening and decrease that echo from the table. They cost about $20 to $30, so they're super affordable, really accessible, and you can always pick one that will match your setup. There's always group buys on really cool desk mats. You can even get desk mats that match your keycap sets. Really cool. For example, there's one going on right now for Modern Dolch 2 on Dixie Mech. It comes with accompanying desk mats that you can pick from. It's a group buy that we got ourselves into and are really excited about. However, some of those keycap sets can be a little bit pricey, so if you're just looking for the desk mat, you can do that too. Dixie Mech is a great place to buy desk mats that even aren't in group buy. They're usually about $25. I'll link to a bunch of different places where you can buy desk mats or desk pads down below. Places like Kono and Novel Keys as well. So that was number one, a super easy mod, almost no effort on your part, just a little bit of cash money. Number two, also pretty easy, is changing up your keycaps. I know we've talked about keycap sets before, but more on the like, these are some keycap sets that we bought and they were budget. In this way, we're talking about how keycaps can change the sound of your keyboard. So keycaps have a lot of different profiles when you're looking at them. So when you're hearing terms like, oh my gosh, when you're hearing terms like SA, XDA, DS.
Love the chairs. So comfortable, high quality. Would definitely buy again.
We love our black Polywood Adirondack chairs. No fading or cracking after 4 years in the LA sun. Couldn't be happier.
We absolutely love our new Adirondack chairs. They're very well made and extremely comfortable.
Love, love, love my chairs. Shop now at Polywood.com.
Say, Cat, OSA, Cherry, OEM, MT3. There's just a bunch. There's a ton of different profiles for your keycaps. And what profile means is like their overall design. Do they have a sculpt? Are they uniform? Do the rows differ? Are they high profile? Are they low profile? We have a very in-depth guide on different profiles of keycaps that I'll link down below. It has pictures and things, so if you want to learn more about that, look at that link. But the thing about keycaps is that, so the higher profile keycaps, meaning the taller keycaps like SA, are going to produce a higher pitch sound compared to lower profile keycaps such as DSA. And then of course the material matters as well. ABS usually tends to be bassier than PBT, but it also depends on the thickness of your keycap as well. Thicker usually means stockier. If you want stockier, you want thicker. If you want thick ABS, then the only way right now I think is GMK. PBT is usually on the thicker side as well, and you can find great PBT budget keycap sets. One thing to look out for is you want to make sure that they fit the layout of your keyboard and that they have the right size keys. You can always play around with different keycaps and see what you like. For example, I personally don't like uniform keycaps. I like either OEM or Cherry. I've yet to play around with SA, but they seem really high profile so far. Would love to try it out in the future. But anyways, if you're looking to change up your keycaps and change it based on the noise, check out our guide down below. Number three, also pretty low effort, doesn't involve too much on your part, is adding foam or noise dampening material inside of your keyboard under your PCB. We didn't order any fancy foam. We just used like packing foam from the hardware store, whatever we could find at the time. But a lot of people do recommend that you use higher quality materials such as neoprene or sorbothane. We'll link to those down below as well. But those are actually noise dampening materials and not just packing foam for moving our dishes when we move. Some people recommend using shelf liners that you can pick up from stores like Walmart or Target. As long as there's something inside there that's filling up the space and not allowing the sound to just bounce around and do whatever it wants in there, you're going to get a better sound from that. So this does involve a little bit of work. You're going to have to open up your keyboard, but on the bright side, you don't have to desolder anything. Usually keyboards are tray mounted. If you don't know what that means, we have I'll link to a nice guide on mounting styles down below. It's not mine, but it's a great reference in case you're moving deeper into the hobby and want to learn so much more about mounting styles, because there are a lot and they do make a difference. So usually this involves unscrewing a few screws in the back of the keyboard, or you have to take off some keycaps, find some screws, unscrew that, lift it up, and you'll find the case just empty, and put some foam inside there. Make sure that it's not too thick, because you do want to be able to put your PCB back on top. You can even cut out different strips and mold it around your PCB or battery if you have a Bluetooth keyboard. But it's not bad. Sometimes your keyboard even comes with foam and you can open it up and put that foam inside. That will work as well. All right, 2 more. Number 4, we got modding your stabilizers. This is sort of like the first entryway into really modding and customizing your keyboard, I would say. This involves clipping, lubing, or band-aid modding your stabilizers if you want to go that route. Personally, I don't like the way the band-aid mod makes these stabilizers sound. It almost really mushes it too much and makes it too low-pitched for me, but you can always try it out. It's super easy to remove once you put it on, so don't worry about that being too permanent. Teha Types has a great guide on how to do this, as well as Rama. I'll link those down below as well if you want to reference that. So modding stabilizers does depend on whether you have a hot swap keyboard or a soldered keyboard. If it's soldered, you won't be able to do things like clipping and band-aid modding, because you do have to take your stabilizers out of the keyboard. If you have a hot swap keyboard and plate mounted stabilizers, or PCB mounted, I suppose it doesn't really matter since you can take them apart. You can take off the switch and then unclip the plate mounted stabilizers for super easy access. Once you do that, then make sure you have the materials that you need. I have used cuticle cutters, I have used nail cutters, I have used flesh cutters to clip off the part of the stabilizer that touches the PCB. And then as for lube, you can use dielectric grease such as Permatex or any other dielectric grease that you find at the hardware store. And many recommend using Krytox 205G0 if you have access to that. If you are interested in buying those higher end lubes, I do recommend buying from SwitchMod. They have great service and I'm really happy with them. And you can also put some electrical tape or band-aid between the stabilizer and the plate where it enters to ensure a tighter fit. So one more, number 5 will be the hardest and probably most time consuming and tedious one, and you've probably heard this all before, and that is lubing your switches. To do this, you either need to desolder the switches from your keyboard, or you have a hot swappable keyboard and your switches are easy to take out. So either one works. As for materials, you're going to need a small paintbrush, lube of your choice, a place to hold your lube, of course. You can optionally have a lubing station or not. I do not. I just use a table to do it. However, if you do have a lubing station, that would probably speed up the process quite a bit. You need a switch opener or a flathead screwdriver, depending on what kind of switches you have. Cherry switches open differently than Kale style switches, so it's sort of a pain. Kale switches are really hard to open, so are Odomu switches. Cherry switches are pretty easy to open even without a switch opener. For an in-depth guide on how to lube your switches, I'll link down below to a guide that we wrote recently on our blog. Comes with pictures and everything. If you're looking for a video, I'll link to a video that I really like as well down below, and you can watch that if you like. Use them side by side. Either way, make sure you really know what you're doing before you lube something. Also, before lubing an entire keyboard, just lube one switch. Make sure you like how it sounds or feels before you go on to all of the other switches. When it comes to lubing, remember, less is more. Don't over lube your switches, because that just makes it even more mushy and more friction than it would have been in stock form. As for a accessible lube that I just ordered from Amazon, I do have a side-by-side comparison with sounds of lubed versus unlubed switches, where I lubed with Super Lube 51004, and that seemed to work pretty well if you don't have access to the nice stuff. In the future, we will be testing out spray lube and giving you guys a genuine review on what our opinion is with that and whether you should or not. But yeah, that's it for the mods from easiest to hardest that will make your mechanical keyboard sound better. Of course, you can also enter the whole custom scene and play with the materials of your plate, your case, and things like that. So going into like brass, aluminum, acrylic, polycarb, all those things make a difference when it comes to your keyboard sounds. And of course, you can play around with switch types. There are so many switch types. There are silent switches. There's like different varieties of tactile switches, linears, clickies, and you can also spring swap for a different feel. That was probably a lot of information, so I'm going to end it here. I hope this video was super helpful. In the future, we will be doing individual guides on each of these things, but gonna have to wait a while because we're doing a big move soon and don't know when we'll have the available supplies and space to do something like that. Whew, that was a lot of information. All right, take time and decide on what mods you want to do to your mechanical keyboard and comment down below if you have done some of these already. And tell me your opinion on all these mods. If you have any other great information and advice to share about how to make your mechanical keyboard sound better, feel free to comment down below. Glad to hear it. I'm going to link you guys to some tips and tricks on mechanical keyboards here, and I'll link you to another video that the YouTube algorithm thinks that you guys might really like from us here. Subscribe here if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one.
Buy game keys, save money.
Copilot, draw an instructional cartoon showing my dog how to roll over.
At 10:28 a.m., you couldn't teach an old dog new tricks. At 10:46 a.m., you taught yourself one.
Money, and then just play. Check Gamivo.com.
It's happy hour somewhere. and we know a great place nearby.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we
Buy game keys. Buy game keys, save money, and then just play and play.
Atreus, where are you?
Well, we climbed the bear.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious why this girl's limping. Welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. With a rock like this, the question always is, did it go all the way through? And with this one, I can confirm it did, because I can smell it. See this dark shading right here? That tells me that all of this hoof needs to come away, that it's completely separated. You can see plain as day where that rock worked its way through. The objective here is to remove any of these loose little jagged edges that surround this. There's always a question, did the rock cause the problem, or did the rock find a defect in this claw and take advantage of that and then make the problem worse? I think it's pretty obvious here by the location of where this is, right in that junction, that white line junction. There was probably a small crack here to start with. That rock found that and worked its way all the way through. The separation we see is the cow's attempt at trying to dislodge or remove that foreign body from her hoof. By separating that layer of hoof horn, that hoof horn can fall away, taking that rock with it. But since we removed the rock, we can take this separation away because it's only going to trap debris and things like that. So we can take that separation away, allows us access to that lesion, and helps us clean it that much more thoroughly. And yes, with something like this, we are definitely going to use a rubber block. It's going to elevate that injured one, give it time to rest and heal back over. The spray I'm using is called chlorhexidine. It's an antiseptic to help clean this area and helps me see all these little edges that still remain. There's a few right along here. here is the lesion caused by that rock. This brown area around it is just staining. That's new hoof horn there. It's this lesion here that we need to spray, get perfectly clean, and treat with our salicylic acid. The salicylic acid is used to kill any of the little spirochetes that might be living there, trying to keep this area open. With that wrap in place, 9175 is done.